Hello, BookShark Bootcamp. It is your community manager, Jana, and today is Wednesday, August 6th, and we are on session 6, staying organized throughout the year. Okay, for those of you who have gotten your boxes and you've already watched sessions 1 through 5 and you're getting organized, you're getting really excited, you have your calendar printed for the year, maybe you've gotten a start date, you're getting excited. Now, there is another group of you who are not yet into your curriculum. You have not received your order, or maybe you just got your order, but you haven't had a chance yet to watch any of the sessions. So I want to encourage you. I made sure to refresh one because Facebook has this new thing that when you do a live, you cannot keep it more than 30 days. It goes away. They don't want to house everything. So now what we do is we run our live, and then I went back and made sure that those videos are permanent. So if you tried to watch session 1 and it was gone, I apologize about that. They will be permanent from here on out. So if you are awaiting your order or you just got your order and you don't know where to start, I encourage you to start at the beginning in session 1. It will talk to you about unboxing and what that looks like. Session 2, we put together our big binders, which looks like this. Boom. It's got our week tabs in it. Excuse me. So that's what we talked about in session 2. In session 3, we talked about the year. That's when we printed out our calendar. If you are looking for that, it is under the file tab, under the banner for the group. If you are watching on YouTube, make sure to reach out to customer service main@bookshark.com. We'll make sure we send you the PDF. We also talked about, actually session 3 was about organizing your books. If you need the color key, you're on YouTube, reach out. The color key is also under the file tab on the Facebook page. Then we did the calendar. All right. Now, then we talked about staying, what your day is going to look like, the 20-10 rule, and what your family rhythm is going to be, and giving it time to kind of work through and find your groove. That was last week. This week, we're going to stay organized throughout the entire year. We talked about how to set up your binder, which I just showed you. And if you did not get the required resources, or you just did one subject, you may not have gotten a BookShark binder. You can use any type of binder that you'd like. If you do not have the week tabs, I encourage you to just use these little tabs back here. You can certainly use any type of tab that you would like. It doesn't have to be ours. So don't stress out if you think maybe you don't have what you need. You can improvise and find the things that you need very simply. How many of you are already seeing the back to school list for your community? I went into a store the other day and I saw kids with their lists and the aisles and aisles of school supplies. Don't want you guys to miss out on some of those things. Our working binder, which is what we're going to be talking about today, is just a 1.5 to 2 inch binder that you can find at basically any store. Walmart, Target, even your grocery store will carry them sometimes when it's back to school. So if you want crayons, if you want certain type of pencils, there's still some fun ways to do some back to school shopping, but it's going to be a fraction of what you're used to if you're new to homeschool, which I always appreciated. It's a very small amount of things that you actually need. And the things that I'm saying are things that you typically would use at a school year. Some pencils, some pens. Don't need to get crazy. BookShark has supplied you with all that you need if you did an all-subject package. If you did certain subjects with us, like science, we give you everything that you need, unless it's a household item. More on that as we continue. All right, so our working binder. We talked about the big binder. I'll show it again. This big binder, you put it together. You looked through your weeks. You put the weeks behind each of the tabs. You're ready to go. This can be overwhelming. Your working binder, it's actually a smaller binder, just like this. I have put in the cover for world history, high school. That goes in the front so I know what I'm working on, especially being the years that I have done. I've switched it out every year, but here's my working binder. In the working binder, I am just going to keep a couple weeks worth of material inside. This makes it so much more user-friendly. if it opens up and drops everywhere, I have a few weeks to pick up and not 36 weeks. I want to travel. Grabbing a working binder instead of that big file binder is a great way to leave for several weeks, to just leave for the day. I pick it up, I look at the week, I know what book, I grab it, and we go. Much more compatible to hauling around the file binder for BookShark. 2 to 3 weeks is what I say is great for a working binder. That might change if you have multiple students, if you have multiple levels. You might need a little bit bigger working binder, but it's a great rule of thumb, 1.5 inch to 2 inch with a viewfinder, so you know exactly what level you're working on. You can keep them separate if you're doing multiple levels. You can keep them all in one. That is a personal preference, but your working binder is going to be a lot, let's just say, compatible to moving around and being flexible in your homeschool if you are not planning on staying within your 4 walls, which we did not like to do. Doesn't mean it's wrong if you like to do that or that is your plan. It's just something I enjoyed getting outside as much as possible. I liked going to different locations to school because I needed something fresh. That is just my personality. Lots of different ways to homeschool, and we're going to continue to talk about that as we work through these sessions in the boot camp. All right, so you have your working binder where I would encourage you to put in also your calendar. So you have your few weeks worth of material inside your working binder, but I always like to have a good overview of at least the month that we're working through. Go back into I believe it's session 4 when we talked about how you're going to set up one. Actually, this is why we don't have any on there. And we are not starting school until September. So here's where I have week 1, day 1, week 1, day 2, week 1, day 3, etc. Okay. Keeping that working binder is going to keep you on track with your calendar for the year. I have to remember to flex it about your put days. If you have extracurriculars doing, make sure that all gets penciled in, because you don't want to get into the 3rd or 4th week and realize that you've scheduled way too much for yourself and it's not going to get done. Hopefully you did it in pencil. You can always reprint another calendar, but know that having an overview of your months as you work through your working binder is super helpful, just to keep focused on more than anything. So the other thing I like to put in my working binder, sorry, my pile is over here. If you have a level that has a small laminated map, it would have been inside your instructor's guide for history. I like to put that inside my working binder. That way I know when I'm going through and we're supposed to have a map, then I can pull it out and we can work through it. It'll say the different maps, okay? That's a great place to keep that in the working binder. It is inside your guide. Now, if you say, oh my goodness, I didn't have one of those in my guide, it may very well be because you have a level that actually individualizes them. So once you get into level I and higher, into high school, they will have individual maps inside your section 3. This one is for American historical literature, section 3, and it's a parent guide. So it has the answers to where the parts of the map or the places on the map that gets talked about, but you're going to have it in a paper form. It's not going to be laminated. So no, you didn't miss anything. It's just as they gain independence and do more on their own, they're going to have a set, and then you'll have a set in your instructor's guide, parent guide, that will have the answers for those geography questions. Okay. Now, for those of you who are waiting for a curriculum, you're not quite sure what I'm talking about, in your guides, you will have a icon. I'll pull one up here for you guys to be able to see. It's going to show you every time there is a map geography. BookShark incorporates geography and history, and then later on in literature as you are in the higher levels. So that means you're going to have geography. The other icon is for your timeline. Here is what your timeline, I believe they are now blue. This is an older version. You would have a blue one. Your levels up until level I. Again, level I is where we transition and you're no longer using these type of timelines. Your student is asked to place information on a timeline to finish it out. But before that, you get these fun little pre-cut, just so you guys know if you're unfamiliar, these little stickers. They should come right off. Oh, in theory, they are pre-cut and ready to go. I'd have to get my glasses probably to see how to get these off, but you have them colored, you know, from your schedule when they pull up, and inside the actual days will explain who these characters of history, these figures, historical figures are, and then how they get placed in the map. I'm sorry, in the timeline. This I like to keep either in the pocket of the timeline book or inside my working binder so that you have it ready to go. All right. Now, your student can have an identical binder, 1.5 to 2 inches, where you are going to take out their activity sheets. If you have language arts or science with BookShark, your student will have activity sheets. Our history is the Socratic method. There is not actually a pulled out activity sheet for our history, but our language arts and our science will. You can do this a number of ways. I like to pull it all out in the beginning of the year as I'm putting together my binder and create a separate student binder for them. There are issues with that. I've spoken about it before. You can sometimes use pages, so you might want to have them do a week, put it back in the file binder, so you know where to find it. You have evidence of learning if you are asked or if you have to produce that, depending on what type of program or how you're using BookShark. So your file binder will help you stay organized for the entire year. One for your working binder, one for your student binder. That you can do a number of different ways. We'll encourage you to let your students decorate. Whether you're pulling it all out at once or just giving it to them week by week, let them decorate and have fun. Trapper keepers are coming back. I had no idea. Stickers. We don't allow glitter, but if you like glitter, any of those things, let your kids have fun. Sometimes it's a great way to have a first day of school activity is to let them decorate their student binders. Now, it's what one might call a portfolio for the entire year, all of those worksheets, all of those activities. If you are doing any of the project-based learning for hands-on history for levels A, B, or C, I would encourage you to take a photo, scan that photo, print it out, put it in the binder, because if you try to remember where it's at or put it in a box, chances are it's going to get broken over time. So snapping a picture of those different projects as you move along through A, B, and C, hands-on history. Then as you get into D, E, G, and H, you'll have an opportunity to do a lap book. If you are doing that, the instructions are inside the box. Everything that you need will be in there except a pair of scissors. It'll be scheduled in as an optional item, and that is going to be the lap book or the hands-on history for the younger levels. Your lap book will probably stay together pretty good. We travel with them throughout the season at different conventions, and they do just fine. I would personally take a picture once you complete the projects for the younger levels, and then again, put that inside your file binder for part of your portfolio for the end of the year. I encourage you guys to keep your box that your materials came in, or a box, so that once you start to compile these things or you leave your file binder in there at the end of the year, you have evidence of learning if that is important to you or your school district, depending on how you're using BookShark. That file binder is going to take up a lot of space, and so at the end of the year, you want to pack it away, you want to put it back in that box or find a box to use. Keep projects in there, keep fun little knickknacks, things that they did, so that you have a great way to not only reminisce through your school year at the end of the year, but just to stay organized, especially if you have multiple students, you get into multiple years. It can get overwhelming. I know every time we moved, I've gone through tubs of things that my girls have done, either at co-ops or different organizations. Kids do lots of crafty things. And then you have to weigh, like, do I want to keep this? Don't I want to keep this? So having that box, that attic box, is a great way to put those things in, that you don't have to decide in that moment what you want to keep. It can all go in there. You stay organized. You can go back through it later, maybe years later, and decide what you want to keep. But it's in a place that's marked with 25-26 school year, and it's all ready to go. All right. I'm going to move into this idea of using your working binder by looking through the instructions once a week. We like to call it Sunday night planning. You could do it any night of the week that you would prefer. It's a moment where you decide every week that you're going to stop and look through what's coming up in the week that you're working into. So, for whatever day you decide is going to be your day one, week one, I would encourage you to set aside half hour to an hour just by yourself. If it's something that you want to set into precedent where you actually go into a different room, shut a door, grab a cup of coffee or grab some chocolate or do something, put on some jammy music that you like to listen to. Maybe you're going to take this time and go to a coffee shop and you're going to just have some me time. Think of it as like teacher planning time. And while BookShark does all the planning for you, we encourage you to look at it and do an overview before you jump into each week. So your Sunday night planning is going to be the notes for the entire week for each subject. Just look through those. History is a great example of why this time is important. There were words that in the vocabulary list that I maybe didn't necessarily know how to pronounce because it was different vernacular. We use a lot of classic literature, so there's going to be words in there that we don't typically use today. There is going to be definitions of words that I wasn't familiar with. And so instead of stumbling on those as we were reading for that week, I had an idea of what was coming and kind of familiarized myself with it. Now, I don't think there's anything wrong with telling your kids, let's look that up, or do you know what that word means? I love when my kids would stop me and say, I don't know what that word means. It showed me that they felt safe enough and they were curious enough to want to know exactly what we were reading about. As they got older, they would continue to say to me, we don't know what that word means. And I would say, well, I'm speaking English, so I don't understand what you don't understand. But I do love that we can learn alongside of our kids. So looking through that list of vocabulary, knowing which historical figures are going to be pulled out for that week's timeline, and even the geography, getting yourself familiar with it. It is a way to prep without doing a ton of pre-work. Just reading through it on Sunday night, getting yourself familiar, deciding if there are videos you want to plug in for certain types of, for different areas. If you're unable to go to a certain place or be able to recall from a historical point, there are definitely YouTube that you can pull up. So looking through that ahead of time and having those things pulled up and ready to go from Sunday night or whatever night you decide keeps you from going down a rabbit trail and getting distracted. And when you're in the moment trying to do that with your kids, I know if we get on YouTube, that generates the next video or there's a commercial, and then the next thing you know, 30 to 60 minutes later, we are totally derailed. And while I love that bunny rabbit trail that it takes us on, sometimes it's hard to come back. So just know your personality and your kids. Having that Sunday night time is a great way to plug that in, to kind of do a little research and see what you want to be able to show using multi avenues of learning, YouTube being one of the plethora that are out there. So great time to look at that. Great time to get organized with your timeline figures, your geography, your vocabulary. What else? Great time to know that as you're starting to get into that math, get yourself familiarized with it so that if you do have a question, you can get the help that you need prior to being in the moment. Sometimes those in the moment scenarios can leave everybody frustrated. And so just having some prep time, I think, is important. So that's the Sunday night planning. That will help you stay organized throughout the year. It will keep you focused. It will keep your eye on the prize and reminding you why you're choosing to do this with your kids. It'll also give you that good feeling that you're putting in the work ahead of time, that when people ask you like, oh, what are you doing? You could actually answer them. You're like, oh, I don't know. Doesn't mean that if you don't have time to prep for the week that you can't do it Monday morning before you get started. You absolutely can. You don't even have to do the whole week. You can do day by day. This is just one suggestion that has worked over the years. So I'm encouraging you, try it out, find out what's going to work for you. Okay. Now, let's see, you guys, we talked about when we were organizing our books, we had color coordinated for different levels. So make sure to look at the color file on that tab underneath the main banner if you didn't get a chance to organize your books or you want to know what I'm talking about with those different colors. Keeps it great way to keep it organized, especially if you have multiple levels, multiple students. Okay, so Oh, that is a lot of information. Your homework is going to be name one task that you're going to implement that you feel like is going to help you stay organized throughout the year. Post a pic of your attic box that you let your kids decorate, your working binder, maybe the kids' binder that they got excited about, maybe just a pile of supplies that you just couldn't help yourself and you went out and bought. Sometimes some of my friends, when we talked about school supplies, instead of going out and doing those lists that we ended up spending hundreds of dollars on when our kids were in public or private education, they went and bought memberships to the museums, to the zoo, to different organizations that they were going to use throughout the year. And that was their school supply. So lots of different ways that you can make your first year of homeschool amazing. This is your second, third, fourth, ninth year of homeschool. Keep it fresh. I'd love to hear your ideas because maybe there's some things that we're missing out on. I'm on the East Coast now. We had been for 20 years in the Rocky Mountains. So maybe there's some things on the East Coast that you guys do differently. I'd love to hear your suggestions. I'm going to post the Q&A so that you guys can get those questions out there. We'll get some answers for you. I'm also going to post your homework so that you can let us know how you're choosing to do these, what you're going to implement, and how excited you are about starting this year. That's all I have. Have a great weekend. I will see you guys on Monday when we do the live Q&A.